All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Just to let you all know, this is being recorded. You're welcome to, turn your cameras on or keep them off during this session. We always love to see people, but I know that, you may not want your face on the screen because we are recording this just so that we can offer it through our website to others that may visit our website and can kind of learn about the program. Um, so it's nice to meet all of you. My name is Alicia Christensen, and I work for the Cooperative Institute in Research and Environmental Sciences at the University of Colorado Boulder. And uh, University of Colorado Boulder is a partner kind of on um, some different projects. Basically, we do a lot of research. We have a lot of researchers, I should say, that do research in conjunction with researchers and Indigenous knowledge holders up in the Arctic. So that's kind of why we're involved, even though we're all the way down here in Colorado. With me today, I also have Carla Citlali Limas Gordillo, and I will let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about her. Carla?
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. Hi, everybody. My name is Carla. I work with the same cooperative place that Alicia works with, but I also work with the Navigating the New Arctic Community Office, which is also it's what I guess how do you explain this? It's like what the REU is kind of like under. So in the navigate in the NNA community office, what we do is we're part of NSF's like big 10 big ideas, and we really focus on building awareness and partnerships and having the resources to enable collaborations within the projects that we have and in within Arctic communities. So we do that through indigenous knowledge and having data sovereignty, supporting different types of research, including social sciences. We also coordinate education outreach and different knowledges, not exchange of knowledges. And we have a bunch of resources that we aim to do or to disperse and have for Arctic communities and to really share indigenous knowledges as well, which is one of the things that we do is through the REU program that we're going to talk about here today.
Mm. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Carla, for sharing. Yeah, and we both kind of work in an educational and administrative capacity in terms of being program managers and running some of these undergraduate research experience programs. We have another undergraduate research experience program that we run for community college students actually in Colorado in the summer as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and read, let's see. Oh, I guess it's still showing my screen is being shared. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, awesome. All right. So the NNA Undergraduate Research Experience program is a paid and very short intensive research program. And it's specifically for Alaska-based undergraduate students. So if you're going to school in Alaska and living in Alaska. And it's really the program is geared so that you can learn more about kind of the type of research that's happening in the Arctic and complete a very small research project where you'll kind of analyze some pre-existing data that exists out there. Our goal with each of these research projects is we're trying to incorporate some indigenous knowledge and data that has been observed from indigenous knowledge holders as well as data kind of more from Western science, like looking at there's a lot of ways that scientists now capture data is through remote sensing in different ways, whether that's satellites or whether that's weather stations. And also I think there's some there's still a lot of data that's done with ground truthing true where Western scientists are going out and collecting data as well in person. But So the goal basically is, for you to kind of learn about what that process looks like in terms of incorporating two different types of knowledge in informing you about Alaska, various Alaska phenomena. And ultimately, I think looking at some of the community needs that exist in Alaska and trying to align your research questions with some of those community needs. So that's kind of a little bit about what the research project looks like. And the way this program is structured is that it's going to run on January 6th and 7th. Um, and it'll be virtual. It'll be most of the day on those 2 days. You'll get breaks. So it won't just be straight sitting on Zoom the whole day. But we bring in a lot of guest speakers for those workshop days, folks from Alaska, Indigenous knowledge holders, Western scientists. And so you'll learn from a whole variety of various folks during those 2 online workshop days about both indigenous, kind of the nature of indigenous knowledge and the nature of Western science too. And then there is an in-person part of the program that runs January 31st to February 6th. This coincides with the Alaska Forum, which used to be the Alaska Forum of the Environment. And that forum really brings community members and Western sciences, scientists, policymakers, business folks together, kind of all for a big conversation, and kind of knowledge sharing session about what's going on in Alaska and a lot specifically kind of focused on the environment. And then in between those 2 times, so in between the 6th and the 7th, which are virtual online, and then the in-person section in Anchorage from January 31st to February 6th, is basically we will ask that you'll work in groups of 2 to 3 students with a researcher to kind of start to look at a research question that you're interested in or the group's interested in, then also kind of helps meet a community need. Um, and so that we anticipate that being about like 5 hours a week of your time during that time. I know classes start during this time for you all, so we didn't want to make it too intensive with a lot of work, but that would look like you basically meeting with kind of your research mentor once a week during that period, during that span of those 3 weeks in between the 6th and the 7th and the 31st of February 6th. And then if you complete the whole program, then you receive a $1,200 stipend, which is something I love about this program, is that you get paid for the work you're doing. And you also will receive one, actually this says graduate level, should say undergraduate level credit from CU Boulder as well, that you can transfer to whatever university you're attending. And if you're coming from outside of Anchorage, we will pay for travel to get to Anchorage and hotel while you are there as well. You'll likely be sharing a hotel with someone else, so just keep that in mind. Okay, Carla?
Yeah, so when thinking about why you should apply to this REU, there's a couple of different things that we'd like to highlight. The first one is definitely learning more about research careers. So not only would you be able to learn from the research mentor that you're paired with, but at the Alaska Forum, there's a ton of networking that can happen. You get to know about different research careers. It could be different from the project that you're working on, different from the current major that you're majoring in. It could really be an extensive amount of different research careers that you could be exposed to, especially at the conference. We also one of the goals and objectives of this program is to show students how to incorporate both Indigenous knowledge and Western science and how to bring that together to gather information on the Arctic environment. By doing so, you're able to network with Indigenous and Western knowledge holders. So just further developing that networking map for you. And then also asking it like allows you to ask questions and make observations about the Arctic environmental phenomena. So being able to do that through like the research project that you'll be assigned to, uh, being able to research like different Arctic environment things that you might be interested in. And then at the end, like we focus on especially on the virtual workshops that you'll do on January 6th and 7th, increasing your sense of belonging to the Arctic community and in STEM fields, specifically the research field as well. So we really try to foster that in.
Awesome. Thank you. So a little bit more detail about what the virtual workshops look like on the 6th and the 7th. We do a little bit of team building so you can get to know each other before you come to the Alaska Forum on the Environment. I mentioned that you would be working with other group members. So, we try to basically help you get to know kind of the other people that you'll be working with a little bit on a research project. And then we also, dig further into the nature of Indigenous knowledge and the nature of Western science as well. And we also have some kind of more career development things like a graduate school panel where you'll hear from a variety of graduate students about how to apply, why they decided to go to graduate school, things like that. And we do some other kind of career development activities as well in there, which we will also do during the kind of some of the in-person session during the conference as well, the Alaska Forum.
And then, so as I mentioned and Alicia mentioned, you'll be able to work with a research mentor. So this will happen asynchronously through January 8th through January 31st. And it'll be once a week. So it'll be three times in total that you'll be meeting with your research mentor. When you meet with your research mentor, you'll basically be meeting with them to talk about the data, to familiarize yourself with the questions that you could be asking for the research and how you can start analyzing the data so that once you get to the Alaska Forum, you have like a good sense of the data, a good sense of the research question that you want to research, and then start working on your project. And one of the outcomes of that is an oral slash like poster presentation at a professional conference that you can attend.
Yeah. So during the Alaska Forum, well, we're hoping that you'll be able to do quite a bit of your data analysis during that asynchronous period between the online workshops and then when the Alaska Forum starts. Okay, so I mean, we're only looking right. You're probably only going to have about 20 hours worth of work to actually do some data analysis. So when we say short, intensive, like very short. Um, the goal behind this is really to give you kind of exposure to what research is like in the Arctic. Um, but after this program, we are going to encourage you a lot to look into longer programs. There's a lot of undergraduate summer research programs that we're going to really encourage you to apply to. And I will say, based on many years of running these programs for students, once you have a program like this under your belt, it becomes a lot easier to get other research experiences or other internships once they see that you've successfully kind of completed one. So I think this is a great opportunity to put on your resume and help you apply to these longer research experience programs or internships. And so one of the things to keep in mind is that during the in-person session at the Alaska Forum, um, there's kind of two goals. One is that you would be attending the sessions at the forum. You'll get to choose which sessions you want to attend based on your own interests. At the end of every day, we'll meet as a group and kind of do some reflection on what you learned and talk about as a group so we can also learn from each other. We'll also have a little bit of time each day for you all to work on your research components and start to put them into a scientific presentation. And we'll do a little bit of training during the Alaska Forum also in how to put together a poster or oral presentation. And then you'll actually be presenting that at the Alaska Forum with your group on Thursday, the Thursday of that week. So it's kind of a whirlwind experience. But you know, I think you learn a lot very quickly out of this program, and you also, you know, get to put an official scientific presentation at a conference on your resume, as well as, you know, this experience doing some research as well. So. And so if you would like to learn more about the Alaska Forum, they don't have their schedule up yet in terms of like what are all the strands that they will have at the Alaska Forum. But I encourage you to go to this website. Carla, would you mind putting that link in the chat? And just explore, you know, to learn a little bit more about the Alaska Forum if you're not familiar with it already. And it'll be in the Denina Center in Anchorage. And for those that would be traveling outside of Anchorage, you would be staying in Marriott Hotel, which is nearby. So the plan would be to have you fly in and probably take an Uber to the hotel and then stay at the hotel, and that's within walking distance of the Denina Center.
So, when we're thinking about like eligibility, if you can apply or not, we're looking for people who are living in Alaska and are attending an Alaskan college, whether that be community college or a university. They have to be US citizens or permanent residents of the US. We do recommend a GPA of 3.0. And then you can't have earned a bachelor's degree. You must be willing to participate during the dates. So the January 6th and 7th virtually, the meetings with your research mentor synchronously, and then also that week in Anchorage, which is January 31st to February 6th. And then we also encourage you to apply with your friends or classmates. In the application, there is a question asking if you are, and then you can list that person's name if you are applying with a friend or a classmate.
Yeah, and you may be wondering why we encourage you to apply with friends. And you know, we recognize that sometimes coming to a professional conference, especially if it's your first one, can be kind of overwhelming and intimidating. And so, and even starting out research, you know, can be that way. And so, um, we are, you know, encouraging you all to get your friends involved in this as well, and you know, apply with them so that, you know, you have some support people with you as you come and participate in this program. Okay. So you can apply by going to the NNA website, the Navigating the New Arctic website. And Carla will put that link in the chat. You can also look at the QR code here and use that. That'll take you there. It's an online application form. It's through kind of a government website called ETAP. They there's two parts to the application. The first part is where they just kind of ask you a bunch of multiple choice questions and like demographic data and stuff. And the government collects that information for reporting purposes, but that information won't be used like in the selection process. And then the second part is a section where we ask you to respond to some very short answer between 200 and 300 words essay questions. And I think there's 4 or 5 of those questions. So, you know, the application hopefully shouldn't take you too long. I think it depends on, you know, how much of a perfectionist you are. But I will say, you know, when we are making selections, we're not going through and really looking at spelling and grammar and stuff. We're really looking for content, right? We really want to understand, how is this program going to benefit you? You know, and what are you going to do, I think, from this program? Like, what are your thoughts about how you feel your participation in this program may help impact not only you, but your community and communities in the Arctic. Okay. So really be thoughtful, I think, about those things as you're filling out your applications. All the application materials are due November 19th. And we will be doing some very short interviews for our top candidates. And the University of Colorado uses this system called HireVue, and I don't know if anyone has experienced this before, but it's basically like an online interview process. And um, it can be a little bit intimidating when you first use it. Because you're talking to yourself, so it'll put the question up on the screen, and then you answer it, and it's recording you while you're on the screen. We know it's kind of intimidating. We will try to send out like very specific topics beforehand to tell you kind of what those questions are going to be about, so you can help prepare yourself before you go through that interview process. So with that, oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you all here, and this is a video we created last year. This program actually has been running for 4 years, and we've kind of changed the model a little bit every year. The first 2 years it was completely virtual. We have a small pocket of funding for this, so we weren't able to, to offer a really in-depth research experience. But the last 2 years we've made it more that's virtual and in person. And what you'll see from this is some of our research mentors talking, and also a couple of our previous students talking about the experience.
The research experience for undergraduates is a program that NNA uses to introduce potential researchers into equitable research.
To explore working together with Indigenous communities and scientists to come to a new understanding of some of the changes that are happening in Alaska.
There are many processes to bring Western and Indigenous sciences together. And part of the RU program is finding those processes and seeing which one fits.
I ended up developing some research from what it's called a two-eyed seeing framework, and that is basically recognizing Western science, Western knowledge, and Indigenous science, Indigenous knowledge as two separate systems, but together they can really create change. And we ended up analyzing stories from Kotzebue elders, and I ended up looking at satellite data, and together I put a timeline together of the events that happened with declining sea ice. If you're looking for a research experience that is different and that you get to actually connect with community members, this is a really good experience to be exposed to a new line of research.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. So I know I saw a question in the chat that I'll answer. And actually a couple questions here. Is that Donna from UAF? Donna has been one of our research mentors in the past. I can't remember if she was actually in the photo in the slideshow. Yes, I think that was probably Donna. And then questions too, kind of about eligibility around living in Alaska, attending Alaska colleges and universities. We are ultimately, one of the goals of this program is really, I think, to help I think, improve knowledge and ultimately that helps, I think, benefit the Alaska community and communities in Alaska. So if you are attending an Alaska university but not currently living in Alaska, but plan to reside in Alaska in the future, let us know that in your application and make a really strong case for, how this program is really going to help I think you in being able to support Alaska communities. If you have a bachelor's degree in a totally separate field, does this disqualify you? If it's in a totally, completely separate field, and also, I mean, if it maybe it was a while ago and you're kind of going back to school and trying something else, we will consider you. Yeah, if you have a bachelor's degree already, beginning second bachelor's. So same thing, I think. If it's in a completely different field, we will consider you. Okay. Yeah, healthcare admin, that would be a very different field. What other questions do you all have for us? You can put them in the chat or let's see, interdisciplinary to geoscience. I guess tell me more. I'm not completely sure what you mean by that. Oh, meaning maybe you had a background or your previous degree was in interdisciplinary studies and now you're studying geosciences. Um, I think we would likely consider that. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think we would consider that. Yeah. Okay. How about any other questions that you all may have? This is a great question. Okay. So in terms of research groups, are they formed independently or would we be assigned? So our plan is actually to try to get the research project, the people that are going to serve as your research mentors and run these research projects to introduce their projects the first day of the online workshop on the 6th. And so you'll get a chance to meet them a little bit and hear about what kind of the research would involve if you were working with them. And then you'll be able to kind of rank, like in order of priority, what you're most interested in. We'll try to match students based on your interests, basically. Other questions? I think on the website, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla, but they can see some of the profiles of previous students, right? And do we have, I believe we have posters slash presentations from the students from previous years on the NNA Co website.
Yeah, I can find the link right now, but if I can't find it right now, then we'll definitely send it out. There's also I don't know if y'all have signed up for this yet, but there's a form that you can fill out for like updates. And so I'm gonna put that in the chat too, because we've been sending updates there, reminders to apply. And I'll probably send a link to previous projects as well. But let me try and find that link right now real quick.
Yeah, thanks. Great question. If we apply with other friends and you're hired on, are you able to be in a group with them, or does it all just depend on what matches with our study areas? I think ideally we would probably try to put you in the same group. If especially if you both had similar research interests. I think that, we find that just is a little bit more effective. We can't guarantee that, but ideally that would be the case. Is there a limit to the amount of students accepted for this program? Great question. Yes, we will be accepting 8 students to this program. And because of some of our funding limitations, we're targeting about, hopefully half of those students will be from the local Anchorage area and the other half from outside of Anchorage. Any other questions like about the applying or the application? One thing I want to say about the application is because this is kind of out of our control because we're using this government application. It does ask for your SAT and ACT scores. It does show up as optional in there. We are not going to be looking at that at all. You do not have to put those scores in there. One other thing I want to say too about the GPA, we do encourage people who are applying to have a 3.0. However, we also understand that life happens. And that various circumstances come up. And so you do have an option to also tell us, if you don't have at least a 3.0 GPA, kind of what, explain why. And we do take that into consideration as we're selecting students. How many applicants are we expecting? Great question. I think it really depends. Let's see. I think the first year we didn't advertise it a lot the first year, so we got a very small number of applicants. The second year, I think we got around 23 or 24. Last year, I think we had close to 40. So I don't know what we'll see this year. We only have 3 applications so far, so I would encourage you to all apply. How about any other questions that are out there?
If there are any other questions that you may think of that, like at a later time, I'm gonna put the email that we use. We check it all the time. So feel free to send an email there with your question and we'll definitely reply to you.
Okay. Looks like we're not getting any other questions. But yeah, do reach out to us. I think we're always willing to talk to people and answer your questions. And we, want to make the application process as easy for you as possible. And not make it hopefully too overwhelming and too intimidating. So, because this is such a short program, one thing we also don't ask for, like a lot of research programs will ask for recommendation letters. We don't do that here because it's a short program, and asking for recommendation letters when you're undergraduate can be kind of intimidating too. So, really the work is in having to write, probably 1,000 words of text overall to answer the essay questions, and that's like I think less than 1 page of in a Word document. So just try to be thoughtful and genuine, I think, in your answers. Really be genuine. Like I said, we really want to understand how you feel. This program is going to benefit you and how it's going to in turn, I think, benefit your community and communities in the Arctic. Okay. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll stay on for a couple minutes in case there are some individual questions that come up. But otherwise, we hope to see you all apply.